UEFN Masterclass, Interactive NPC Dialog, Trackers, and Cinematics. Welcome to this all-in-one UEFN tutorial and project. I'm Logan Pinney, and in this video, you'll learn how to create compelling narrative experiences using conversation devices, cinematic sequences, trackers, and more. By following this project step by step, you will set up engaging NPC dialogues, configure conversational devices to build branching dialogue trees, letting players choose responses that shape the story. Use response nodes to loop or restart conversations and tie them into meaningful quest lines. Integrate cinematics and cutscenes. Use the level sequence device to create dynamic camera moves and cinematic reveals. Trigger sequences from conversation events so that when players pick certain dialogue choices, cool cutscenes happen. Build quests and objectives. Utilize the tracker device to set and complete objectives, like collect the bacon, and track a player's progress through the story. Combine trackers with conversation branches so NPCs only reveal new dialogue or tasks once specific items or objectives are completed. Plan and organize your world. Plan out locations, objectives, and cinematic camera shots before you jump in. Lay down a basic storyline flowchart or overhead map to map out each chapter of the quest, ensuring smooth transitions between locations. Iterate and Playtest. Experience the entire workflow of setting up a conversation, testing triggers, rechecking events, and adjusting how the world responds to players' actions. Discover how important iterative testing is so you can quickly fix logical hiccups like missing triggers, misaligned cinematic cameras, or the wrong tracker settings. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a complete playable scenario where players interact with NPCs, pick up items, unlock new quests, and explore different parts of a Fortnite map, all based on branching dialogues and triggered cinematics. Let's jump into this Unreal Editor for Fortnite and start bringing this interactive narrative to life. Recently, in version 32, the Fortnite ecosystem update and release notes, they have added the conversation device. The conversation device lets you create dialogue trees for players to engage with NPCs in your islands. This makes encounters much more interactive and meaningful. We can also build custom conversation graphs using player choices and outcomes that enhance and drive gameplay. We'll learn how to use the conversation editor, a custom tool for crafting dialogue in your projects. We'll take a look at the conversations in UEFN, the device documentation, workflows, and go over a fun storytelling tutorial implementing cinematics and the conversation device to go on a quest to find a character. What is the conversation device? The conversation device in UEFN is a powerful tool that lets you build dynamic and interactive game modes. With this device, you can script conversation trees with NPCs, allowing players to make choices that directly influence gameplay. These choices can trigger in-game events, alter objectives, or modify the storyline, giving players a sense of control and providing the power for a player to shape the overall experience. We'll start with the basics, creating a custom conversation tree for an NPC on your island. You want to be able to trigger an engaging dialogue where players make choices that have in-game consequences, purchasing items, or receiving rewards for completing NPC tasks. The conversations can be immersive, informative, and entertaining, driving the game's story forward by providing players with much-needed resources and knowledge. The pop-up dialogue device shares core functionality with the conversation device. You can use both devices to display messages or instructions to the player, give them background information for objectives when it's used with the tracker device, or connect to invisible class selector devices, allowing players to choose their class. This lesson is going to focus around creating dialogues between the player and the NPC to solve a quest. With the conversation device, you can take the functionality further by adding layers to the conversation where players make choices that trigger events and change the outcome of their game. The three core main things we're going to learn about is using the conversation device to create a conversation tree, make branching dialogues, and trigger other devices using events in the conversation trees. Before we go finding and using the device, let's get our project and story set up and ready to go for learning. By the end of this lesson, you're going to know how to walk up and interact with a character device, then trigger a conversation asset or conversation bank, which we will learn how to make and then set up with our character device. We'll then learn how to link up responses with events. And in this case, we linked up a response to a cinematic sequence and a camera movement, showing us the next place to go in search for JoJo. I wanted to at least have one character interaction set up before we set up the rest of the locations. I've picked a handful of locations on a map, and we're going to travel around the map in search of a specific character. In this case, the character is searching for JoJo, and we're going to be wandering around trying to find where they went. And at the end, you're going to find the character and complete your story or quest. And it's not going to be very complicated, but it is going to set you up with the foundations and basics to work with NPC characters and interactions and set up some basic storytelling. Let's get started. I've launched Unreal Editor for Fortnite, and I'm presented with the project browser. If you enter into the feature examples, you'll see that we have a new template, Conversation Island. If you're curious to see what they have here, it's very basic, but hop in and create your own Conversation Island template, and then you can explore the various Conversation Bank assets. There are 4 player spawners and a volume, and that volume will trigger a fixed point camera as well as initiate the conversation with the first character. When we enter the volume, we'll be adding the player to this fixed point camera, and when we end the conversation, we have an ended conversation event, then we will be exiting this device or on conversation canceled. And we will check those out when we begin to set up our logic. There are then 3 characters that you can interact with, creating conversation asset, the node types, and some tips and tricks. Opening up a conversation asset for the first time can be quite daunting, as there's a lot inside here, but don't be worried. It's very simple. Once you get the hang of it, it's just like talking to a friend. In this particular conversation, each of these node trees commented off explains a different node. Speech node, response node, restart node, reroute node, repeat node, conversation exit, event nodes, default entry point. That is our starting spot. Random nodes. So let's head back into our content browser and see some tips and tricks. What do we have in here? UI tips, workflow tips, and flow tips. So I'll leave this to you to explore, and we will just go ahead and begin creating our own conversations. There are also some examples of conversation device events, and we're going to be utilizing these throughout our mini project. Heading up to File, New or Open Project. If you head over to Island Templates, I'm going to be utilizing the Tilted Towers PY. You can use this one and follow along with me. You could also use a blank map or any of the templates and build your own environment to tell the story that you want to tell. I already have created my project, so I'm going to open it up now. And many of the Fortnite OG players are well familiar with this point of interest. Now we're going to be starting way down in this corner. This is a screenshot of the overhead map so that we can map out and plan the story that we want to tell. Now we are starting at this point number 1. And when we have our first interaction with the NPC, they're going to be sent to the next area of interest, point number 2. From here, I'm going to then have them sent around to other locations. This is where you can map out the locations you want to send them to, whether it's only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many you want to tell your story. Now, I know I want to go to the coffee shop, and there's no way that we can't have a visit without going to the pizza stop, which is over here. I want to somehow end up in the apartment room looking out with a telescope onto the hill. I'm not sure which direction. I'm thinking probably this direction. And then from here, we're going to be brought over to our final landing spot here. That's the X. And in these spots in here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is our final spot. I'm undecided the order. I know we're going from 1 to 2, and then we can map out our cinematics and how we want to plan the next moves so that it feels good for the player. You might be testing and iterating and be moving from point 2 to point 3, and you try it out and that doesn't feels too clunky. All right, well, let's try point 3 here and then make this point 4 or this one is 0.4, and then we're moving to 0.5, and then 0.6. So it's all about testing and iteration. It's not just about setting it up once and then leaving it. You're going to need to get feedback from players and yourself as you play your experience. Having a loose plan, or at least a draft, will help you succeed in your small project. If you just jump in and start experimenting, that's fine. You're going to be experimenting. But if you want to actually create with purpose and leave with an outcome, then starting out mapping a plan like this, a pathway through our map that's going to tell our story, is going to set you up for success from the start of the project. Jumping back inside of our island and down to our first interaction. Now the setup is similar. I didn't want to use the exact same technique, a volume. We have a mutator zone. You can use that as well. And the idea here is the player character, we have our one singular spawner. They're going to spawn inside the mutator zone. They're going to immediately see this character. We'll have them facing this character right here. I already have a conversation asset on them. I'll move that out of the way. And fun fact, where you have this is where it will show up in world space. So having it directly over their face, I'm talking the bubbles centered over their head, is really a great spot for it, I have found from experimentation. And you can test this out. It looks different in first person and third person, so be aware of that. Our player spawns in. They walk outside of the mutator. And if we exit our immersive mode by hitting F11, and we select our character device, then this is where, when we are playing an emote, when they are entering or exiting this mutator zone, they're going to play the emote, and the emote they're going to play is this beckon. Come over here, I want to tell you something, which is a natural emote for somebody who wants to strike up a conversation with you. The character is using a random animated idle, and the interaction type, this is important, send event only. They are interactable. Interaction text, I just have 3 dots here. We can maybe have this, hello. They're happy to see us. Interaction time, 0, right away. Is it visible in the game? Yes. The character device beckons us over, the player. They walk over to the character and begin interacting with the conversation device. Conversation device has a conversation bank asset, and inside of that is where we can begin to learn how to create one of these. Now I'm going to walk you through this conversation tree before we jump back in to see a live playtest session. We have our entry point where we wave or interact. This is where we begin any conversation. And then, hello, how are you today? Hollow's Woodsman, that's me. You can have this be generic. I'll just put my username in there for fun. Then we're getting a response. I'm great. Yourself? Another response we could have is, have you seen JoJo? This is going to initiate our quest. Okay, so have you seen JoJo? And I also have that coming off of the next speech. So that means that the response, great, yourself, or have you seen JoJo, can come off more than one speech bubble. So great, yourself, then we're spoken back to, given the situation, I'm managing the best I can. Huh? And then this is a reroute node bringing us back into here. We're doing a little bit of circling logic. Back to, how are you doing today? Hey, I'm doing good. Okay, given the situation, I'm managing the best I can. Huh? We could be stuck in a loop here. So the player might do this a few times and then realize, I need to select, have you seen JoJo? This is the only way to move forward in the quest. We can have a little bit of banter, and you can make this much more robust and playful with many more speeches and responses. But at the end of the day, we are getting a setup for the main quest. This is going to be our main quest. Have you seen the character? Have you seen JoJo? We're walking around, running around, scavenging around, maybe getting collectibles. Who knows? But we're moving around the island looking for a character. This then triggers a conversation event. And the event is linked up to our cinematic device. Well, then playing that cinematic device, showing us a clue, pointing us in the direction that we want to go next to continue the quest. The speech here at the end is, you might want to try that at the taco shop. I know so-and-so used to see her there. Who's so-and-so? Well, I don't know. I just put that in there. I know Beef Burger used to see her there. Whatever. With 1,000 NPC skins and names, you can really make your own characters without having to bring in your own characters. There's so many to choose from. So Beef Burger it is for the time being. And then we can also restart the conversation. We don't have just the response of, huh? And circling back. We can also have a question mark, ... question mark, restarting the conversation, bringing us back to our default entry. And how are you doing today? So they will get annoyed quickly and then eventually trigger the quest. I'm in a Christmas skin. It's Christmas time. So here we are. Hello. How you doing today, Hollow's Woodsman? Great. Yourself? Given the situation, I'm managing the best I can. Huh? Have you seen Jojo? That's going right to our conversation event. You might want to try out the taco shop. I know so-and-so used to see her there. We haven't pushed the changes for the Beef Boss name change, but again, that is a nuanced detail. So we're pointed there. We can reinitiate. How you doing? Have you seen Jojo? Showing us the same cinematic. Okay, so let's head over that way. All right, we need to go here. And nothing else has been set up yet. Our conversation device, initiate conversation. Well, that's easy. We're going to pick our character device, and it's when we are interacting with them. Hence why we needed to set the device character to be interactable, sending an event when we interact with them. And inside of our conversation asset, triggering this cinematic, our level sequence, and this little level sequence just takes a camera and simply moves it along a rail, pointing us to the next point of interest. Now our logic in there, the play function, we pick our conversation device, and when our conversation event 1 is triggered, opening that up, we have our conversation event and an event number. How many event numbers can we use? Let's put in the number 99, so 10. We have the 10 events that we can utilize. 1 is the lowest and 10 the highest. Let's set up the same workflow and logic that we have here at the next location. Here I am at the taco shop, and we need some characters. Open up your content drawer, select the Fortnite folder, and then select devices. From here, we're going to select AI and grab a character device. By default, we have the mannequin. I'm going to browse to that mannequin, and that's going to open up our character folder. Right-click on that folder, show in new content browser. Now I can begin to peruse all the various characters that are available that I can use at any time. And you can see at the bottom, 951 items, an incredible amount of skins. If only I had that many in Fortnite. There he is, Beef Boss, super easy and recognizable giant burger head. Let's grab that character, minimize this content drawer, and push that over onto our character device. So character device 2 is now Beef Boss. Let's push him inside of the stand. He's right here. He's using an animated idle. Standing tall, waiting is the pose. The emote is the beckon. We have a few: sitting in chair, air guitar, air horn. Let's try the sit in the chair. We can also enter custom emotes. If you want to bring in some of your own custom animations, you can do that as well. Our interaction type, we do want to send an event. The interaction text, where is that delivery? Visible during the game, yes, and random idle. Now we're going to play the emote when I'm going to select my cinematic device when stopped. So he's going to play his sitting in the chair emote when we stop the cinematic device. The timing might be off on that, so we could also have the emote play when the conversation event was triggered. I'm going to use the picker, select our conversation device on conversation event 1. Now the next thing we need is a conversation. Back inside of our content drawer, inside of Fortnite, devices, UI is where we have our conversation device. Drag that in right on top of the burger. Our brand new conversation device, our user options, conversation type, radio, box, or custom. Radio is the ones that you've seen inside of the classic Fortnite Battle Royale or Zero build. Box is one that we can design, have a little bit more customization around the text color and border size and border color, things like that. Then we have custom, which is fully custom UI and allows you to have complete control over what is displayed during conversations. We'll stick with the radio as we are setting up some simple NPC work. Speaker name, we know his name, Beef Boss. We will show the name when nearby. Show indicator bubble, and the indicator bubble is on your mini map or inside the building. You can kind of see the 3 dots and the white bubble. That gives you the range where you can see that. So we want that to be a very large range. Let's try 13. Number of conversations allowed. Well, this is a single player experience. But if you had multiple players wanting to talk to a vendor, then you may say only 3 or 4 people can talk at once. At which point he would say, I can't talk right now. And that's the conversation maxed name. How do we initiate conversation? Easy. Hit the plus sign, grab the picker, select your character device on interacted with. The events are all linked up inside of here. Event 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. So we're going to be utilizing event number 2. We've already done event number 1, so now we'll do event number 2 when we create our new conversation, which is right inside here. And we don't have one, so we go to the drop down. I made one for our initial demo, but I'm going to create a new asset by selecting that. I already have a folder named Conversations, Conversation Bank 01. Well, let's make the next one Conversation Bank CB_02. Double click and open up your new Conversation Bank asset. It's completely empty. There's nothing here and there's nowhere to go. I'm just joking. Here we go. Right click, entry point, default entry point. And that, I hope, one day is the default when you open this up, because at least you have something to look at. And we know we can pull off that and place a new node. What do we want to do? Well, when I first see you on the street and you wave to me, you're probably going to say something. So we want to start with a speech. And that is, have you seen the delivery? Have you seen the delivery? We're running out of cheese sauce, which is really a big problem for Beef Boss at the taco shop. Everybody loves that hot cheese sauce, so we need to figure out what's going on here. Pulling off the speech, response. I'm lactose intolerant. Please tell me it's vegan cheese. Alright, so we have 3 responses when we first see Beef Boss. I'm lactose intolerant. Please tell me it's vegan cheese. I will take a look for him. We need that cheese ASAP. And then finally, have you seen Jojo? And that's leading to our next quest mission. So we know that we're going to get a conversation event from here. Not number 1, but number 2. And we might run into a situation where, hold on, we cannot initiate conversation event number 2 with seeing Jojo until we complete a task such as find some vegetables, find the cheese as soon as possible. We give him the cheese, then we can get our answer from where Jojo is and initiate our conversation event number 2. So how do we set that up? Well, let's Alt and left click on the mouse to break that link and move our conversation event number 2 under the I'll look for the cheese as soon as possible. Select the speech, Control D to duplicate it and bring it under have you seen Jojo? And we're going to have this to be, if I knew where the delivery driver was, I'd know where Jojo was. Okay, so then we're going to need to also then go back into this response, right? So we have the option to go right into the delivery and get our quest for the delivery man, finding the cheese. And if we give him the funny joke answer, then we're going to restart the conversation. Okay, Mr. Vegan, you're going back to the beginning here. You need to get the cheese and then you need to find Jojo. So we have some a funny response here, which is going to restart our conversation back to the default entry point. Then we have a look for the delivery man, which is going to give us our conversation event number 2. Or if you say, have you seen Jojo? Well, hey, we need you to find the delivery guy. So you're going to need to respond with, I'll take a look for him. We need to get that cheese as soon as possible. Now let's save that. And what is event number 2 going to do? Well, it's going to show that the cheese is right here. So in the content drawer, under Fortnite, we'll type in cheese. And now we have a cheese slice or cheese wheel. Grab a cheese, put it right there. And we'll put a cheese wheel right there. And that is going to be the trigger that we need to move on to the next part of the conversation with Beef Boss. We need to acquire the cheese and bring it over to him. And how would we acquire it? Well, we need a collectible. And now that I can see that we have a bacon as a collectible, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to delete the cheese. I'm going to go back into my conversation because what do we need? We need to collect the bacon. And I'm going to head back over here, selecting that conversation and opening it up. We don't need cheese. We need the bacon. Okay, it's bacon, and we don't want to do that. I'm vegan, so we're restarting the conversation. Too bad. So sad. You're going to need to get the bacon anyways, even if you are. If you don't like that, then what are we going to do? Well, I'm vegan. You're going to say, I'm vegan. And he's going to say, oh, good, it's vegan meat. And then we're going to restart the conversation. No, we can't have a restarted conversation off of a speech. I'm moving that up. Oh, it's vegan meat? Great. Now we're going to respond with, I'll take a look for him. So all of the routes are going to go to this event. Have you seen Jojo? That's going to trigger our event number 3. So we will need another conversation event, event number 3, and it will need a bit of conditional logic in order to make sure that we don't trigger it without having already acquired our collectible. How do we know to find the bacon in the truck? Well, let's use another cinematic device. The content drawer. Under devices, type in cin. And we're going to grab the cinematic sequencer device. Put that beside Beef Boss. Under sequence, we can drop down and create a new level sequence. I have a folder called sequences ls01. Well, this is our second sequence, so it's level sequence 02. Save. Double click and open up your new sequence. It's currently empty. We need to add a camera. I'm going to pilot that camera. The camera is going to show me talking outside the taco station. We're talking to the Beef Boss. This is where the camera starts. I'm going to hit S on my transform inside sequencer to put some keyframes on my location, rotation, and scale. I'm going to move the playhead forward to about frame 30 and turn down. At the same time, I'm going to move up and down and then hit S again on my keys. Moving back, we can see what our motion is, and that's probably happening way too fast. So let's bring that out to maybe 120 frames. See how that looks. Now let's push our changes and then see if that functionality is working before we get our conditional button functioning with our have you collected the item before we can move on to the next part of our quest or story. All right, testing the first part. Let's go right to have you seen Jojo? Oh, there he's sitting in the chair. So we need to move him over. He wasn't imperfectly in line. We can see that he's waiting for us. Seems to be centered up with that. So we'll move those props over. And Beef Boss, where is that delivery? Have you seen the delivery? We are running out of cheese sauce. I thought we changed that, but maybe we didn't fix that one yet. I'll take a look. I'm vegan. Oh, good. It's vegan meat. I'll take a look for him. We need that bacon ASAP. And nothing is working because, you know why? We didn't initiate our device to then jump down in here. So let's hop back into UEFN. Now, how do we play this sequence? The play function, we need to hit the plus sign and select the conversation device. event number 2. All right, now we have our little cinematic that happened very quickly. So again, you need to trial and iterate these and adjust them as you see fit back. So, hey, I want to talk. Have you seen JoJo? If I knew where the delivery driver was, I'd know where JoJo was. Okay, I'll take a look for the bacon. Back, showing you where the bacon is. Let's run down and collect the bacon. Then come back to Beef Boss and give him the bacon. Then talk to JoJo. We got the bacon. Now we need a tracker to let us know that we needed to collect the bacon and then get the bacon, then come back and deliver it to Beef Boss. And that is going to be in the next part that we're going to do. Let's adjust the position of Beef Boss and the conversation before we move any further, because we know we're not centered and lined up. So we'll bring that back over here. And we can actually go into our level sequence. Look through the camera. That would be our first level sequence, not our second level sequence. And now we are lined up and centered. Might even want to adjust our adjust our pitch. Now we need to fix our conversation. We have the default entry point, the speech. Have you seen the delivery? We are running out of bacon. I'm vegan. Oh good, it's vegan meat. In quotations. I'll look for him, and we need that bacon as soon as possible. Have you seen JoJo? No. If I knew where she was, if I knew where the delivery driver was, I know where JoJo was. So this is where we left off. Event number 3. How do we get that to trigger? Well, in actual fact, we don't need this event number 3 here. What we can do is make a new conversation that only comes up after we have attained the collectible. But I want to use this conversation event to initiate the tracker. We want to make sure that any way we choose, we are going to initiate a tracker using this conversation event number 3. Critically important note, the event linking with numbers each applies to each conversation. Therefore, conversation 1 has 10 events, conversation 2 has 10 events. That's 20 different events to utilize. So each conversation has 10, not 10 in total for your entire map or island. Inside the content drawer, under Fortnite, devices, I'm going to type in tracker and grab a tracker device. This tracker device is going to initiate our quest to get the bacon. Stat to track is going to be an event. Target value is 1, starting value is 0. We need to acquire the bacon. That's our tracker title, the description, get the bacon to Beef Boss. We were going to assign this when our conversation event number 3 is triggered. And it gets completed, we are increasing the target value. I'm heading down to the collectible and using my picker and selecting the collectible on collected. So our event is to collect the bacon. When we collect this bacon, it will trigger our increase in our target value, completing this. And what happens when we complete the tracker, we're going to open up and enable a new conversation. Heading back to Beef Boss, back in our original conversation with Beef Boss, disable the conversation event when, using my picker, selecting the tracker, when the tracker is completed. I'm going to select the conversation device, Control-C, Control-V to make another conversation device, resetting everything in here. Inside of the conversation, we're going to make a new conversation, duplicate your conversation bank 2, CB3, open it up. Now we're going to modify it. You got the bacon. Yes. Alt-click on the nodes you don't want. So we got the bacon. We were promised information. Have you seen JoJo? Last time I saw her, she was having coffee. And this is going to, just to make it easy, let's have this conversation event number 4. So that is going to trigger the next cinematic pointing to the coffee shop. Good luck finding her. So this is a very simple little conversation, right? Default entry point. You got the bacon. Mission completed of our mini quest. And now we're responding, have you seen JoJo? Last time I saw her, she was having coffee, which is triggering our event number 4 and then leaving with a speech, good luck finding her. Now, inside the content drawer, under Fortnite devices, we're going to grab another cinematic device, put that one outside of the shop. And here I'm going to go up to the create button under cinematic and grab the camera rig crane. Place that on top of this building. Inside the cinematic sequencer, I'm going to make a new level sequence. Going over to sequence under user options, creating a new asset, level sequence. We're going to call this, you guessed it, level sequence 03. Open up level sequence 03. Select your rig crane, drag it into your sequence, then hit the camera button. Now we have a new camera. This camera is going to be associated with our rig crane. Syn camera actor 3, and let's move it up and attach it to our camera rig crane. Zeroing off the location and exiting the view, I'm going to position the camera slightly forward, and now my camera is attached to the rig crane. So let's look through the camera and selecting the rig crane settings, crane pitch. We're going to need a longer arm. This is our yaw. We can lock the mount pitch, lock the mount yaw. And then we have our controls inside of our camera as well. I'm going to go to the very first keyframe and hit S while I have my camera selected. Then I'm going to select the camera rig crane, and we're going to begin to animate the crane arm length. So add a keyframe under that property. Now let's move forward to about frame 120 and animate our crane arm length to something like 2500. Now we're coming up here. As soon as we hit that height, we might even want to go further. Let's try 5,000. And as we're going up, we're going to animate our camera rotation, not our yaw, our pitch. We're going to pitch down. So we're animating the crane arm, and our pitch is going down slightly. And at the same time, I want to begin animating the focal distance from a 35 to maybe a 200. I'm happy with that camera move. We do have one major problem. Those trees are directly in the path, so I'm going to remove them. Maybe we don't need to remove them. We can get away with shrinking them down. All right, the trees are no longer in the way, and now we are pushing forward, getting a glimpse of the coffee shop, which is going to be the next point of interest for the character to go on the mission searching for Jojo. When are we going to play this device? Let's not make the same mistake that we did last time when we set it up. So head down to the user option, functions, play function, hit the plus sign, then under our picker, we are going to select the conversation device number 3. Now, because they're on top of each other, it might be easier to use your typing in here. We could also label this something like conversation have bacon or bacon complete. And that was event number 4. And now let's test out what we have just completed. Launch your session. Immediately we have a problem. Acquire bacon. Get the bacon to Beef Boss. That shouldn't be triggering yet. Let's investigate our tracker. There we go. I missed that one. Assign on game start. No, we don't want that to assign on game start. So let's end our game and let's save. Start the game again. This time, there we go. We're being called over. We don't have the tracker up. Hello, how you doing? Have seen Jojo? Oh, good. He's lined up a little bit out of focus. We could fix that with our camera, but I really like the positioning, and he got up out of the chair. He's waiting for us to come and say, hello. Beef Boss, where's that delivery? Have you seen Jojo? If I knew where the delivery driver was, I'd know where Jojo was. I'll take a look for him. We need that bacon. Okay, get the bacon to Beef Boss, but it didn't play our cinematic, so we need to make sure that when we pick that, both situations play the cinematic. Okay, but however, both are triggering our acquire the bacon. So to fix this, we can make sure that both events are fired one after another, only once we have I'll take a look for them. So now event number 2 and event number 3 are being fired. We really only have 2 options. A joke side, which is going to take us to our immediate action, conversation event number 2 and 3, or the have you seen Jojo, if I knew where she was, blah blah blah. So This is a little bit more simple version. Let's save this and see if that is now going to work correctly. I'm almost certain I've said it a few times, testing and iterating, just like real estate. Location, location, location. Well, you want to playtest, playtest, playtest. I would argue we did too much before playtesting. I should have immediately playtested the tracker and then playtested acquiring the bacon and then playtested the camera crane movement. So each one of those things could have something that I forgot to turn on or off, such as the tracker starting on game start or another little nuanced checkbox forgotten, which is often the case with Unreal Engine and UEFN. Okay, let's test it out again. You see in the delivery, all right, doesn't look like it will trigger both events back to back. Interesting. So here's what we can do. We can have our tracker enabled on the start at the end of the cinematic instead of using a conversation event. So the assign is going to be when we play the cinematic device. And when that cinematic is finished, then we're going to know we need to acquire the bacon. When we get the collectible, we'll increase the target value. When we complete this, we're going to be disabling the conversation number 2 and enabling conversation number 3. Heading into conversation number 3, we need to make sure that this is going to be enabled when we pick our tracker when completed. Initiate conversation. Make sure we pick our character device when we interact with, and make sure that this is not CB02, but CB03. Save, push our changes, and test again. Third time's a charm. Where is that delivery? I'm vegan. Oh good, it's vegan meat. I'll take a look for him. We need the bacon. Didn't trigger it that time. Have you seen Jojo? I'll take a look. Okay, acquire the bacon. So now we know that we need to initiate with this response. I will take a look for him. We need that bacon ASAP if we want to have the cinematic device play. So let's go get the bacon, test if that works, and that incremented the wrong tracker. Now I'd make another mistake, and I make many of them, unfortunately. I had our increased target value. What we want to have is increment progress. So let's copy what we had inside of increased target value and paste that into increment progress. Now we don't need anything in increased target value. Let's save this. Okay, let's try it now. Which one should we pick? Okay, have you seen Jojo? That's all we care about right now. If I knew where the delivery driver was, I'd know where Jojo was. I'll take a look for him. We need the bacon. And now it plays the cinematic right as we want it, and then pops up acquire the bacon after the cinematic, just as we want the intended logic to work. We slide down, we run over here, and what happens when we get the bacon? Boom, our tracker is completed. Great, that works. Now that event to track that is correct. Let's test if we get the second conversation. Back inside the taco shop. You got the bacon, yes! I don't care. Have you seen Jojo? Last time I saw her, she was having coffee. Crane animation works. Focal depth, or rather the focus distance needs to be adjusted in the cameras, but that's fine. That's an easy fix. Everything is functioning correctly. I'm really excited about the progress we've made together. And now I will leave it up to you to continue on with this style of workflow. See if you can plot the next quest update for Jonesy here, or Hollow's Woodsman, finding Jojo at the coffee shop or other parts of the map. I'm going to continue working on my game, and I hope that this information was valuable for you as you continue or begin to create your games. If you stuck around for this entire tutorial and you want to learn a little bit more about me, well, then let's go over that now in this quick 1-minute introduction at the end of my lesson. My name is Logan Pinney, and I've been using Unreal Engine for roughly 7 years. I've also been using UEFN, or Unreal Editor for Fortnite, ever since it came out. I'm a mentor with CG Spectrum and recently completed my premier course on Coursera, Unreal Engine Fundamentals, and I encourage you to check that out if you have time. It's a 20-hour deep dive on the core fundamentals of using Unreal Engine, and it is highly approachable even if you have no experience. I've been a mentor on 3 epic fellowships: world building, animation, and broadcast. I also take on client work as a technical director, animator, and world builder. Prior to this, I spent nearly a decade as an anesthesia assistant working in the trauma operating room. So if you're wanting to switch your careers or take a different direction in life, it's not too late. I assure you, it's highly doable. If you enjoyed my teaching style and want to learn more about Unreal Engine, UEFN, Fortnite, or anything game development or film, motion design, 3D animation, and rendering, then please come and check me out as a mentor at CG Spectrum, and I look forward to hanging out with you and learning about your dreams and vision as a game developer or motion design filmmaker. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.